So we're still talking tomatoes now, but with the increase from 40 to 50%, that is the tariffs for tomato concentrate, you still have situations where most of them still need FX to import. So that's one of the many reasons that was cited by some of the tomato factories here in Nigeria who had to close shop. Let's talk a little bit more about this with Bosun Omofaye, who's Channel's Business News Editor. Bosun, good morning again. It's great to have you on the program.
Thank you.
I expected you to come in with a basket of tomatoes.
Well, it's gone to the kitchen because you need to cook. So whatever it is, we need that tomato in our lives.
Okay, but then
and tomato is very rich. From a health point of view, men are advised to eat fresh tomato. The medical experts will tell you why men should eat fresh tomato. But let us go down there. Let's just leave it there. But fresh tomato is good if you're aged from about 30 years onward. Eat fresh tomato.
And you're not a health.
Always.
You're not a health personnel.
I keep an eye on health. I mind everybody's business.
All right.
Health business. Health is big money.
But then in this case, even though we see that this new policy tried to encourage domestic production and domestic self-sufficiency, just like Amaka already mentioned, yes, tomato is rich health-wise, but it's also rich forex-wise.
Yes, it is. I think this is good, and it's a little bit similar to the palm oil story. You can import, but the tariff will break your shoulders, will break your neck if you think you want to import. So what the NLM's Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment has done is to say, look, we're going to raise the tariff if you want to import the concentrate. And you can only import it via seaports, so you can't bring in overnight by airplanes. So you bring it only by seaports, so we can track then a number of issues down there. Then there's an additional $1,500 per metric ton that you're going to pay if you're importing the concentrate. Now, if you look at tomato in Nigeria, it's more consumed more from the finished product, or for what called the traditional tomato, which are sliced into what you see on the screen now, sliced into eggs or into salads or into fried rice or sort of jollof rice and what have you. The paste is also very consumed in Nigeria, but not as much as the fruit itself. I think what caught my attention in the statement released from NLM's office was the fact that this was to strengthen Nigeria's balance of payments. And when I look at the top of the first paragraph or second paragraph, I found that the Central Bank of Nigeria was part of the interministerial MDAs that put all of this together. And I said, well, that is really good. That looks to the fact that the central bank and other government agencies and ministries are working together to say, look, we don't have the FX boom, as it were, anymore. We need to ration what we have. But how do we ration it not to kill the industries? So instead of saying we ban tomato concentrate in Nigeria, then folks just go to Benin Republic and start routing it in. They say, okay, fine, we just increase the tariff a little bit by another 10%, then encourage the local producers via investment incentives that the NIPC will provide. So the NIPC need to come out within the next 1, 2, 3 days, or maybe after the Easter holiday as quickly as possible. That's the Investment Promotion Commission, to say, look, these are the incentives we're giving to you as tomato producers. Okay, we need to have that as quickly as the ministry has done it.
But then you see, before you can, a lot of times that's the issue most people have. Before doing this increase, why not give the producers of this tomato concentrate the opportunity to import the equipment that they need at a subsidized rate? And that means you're talking to the Central Bank of Nigeria that if these guys come to you that they want to import equipment to make tomato concentrate, then we're going to be giving them subsidized dollars at this particular rate. A couple of companies like that. I think
that is included, and I think it was the first or second paragraph that has to do with the machinery for making. Again, if Dangote is involved, and he's involved, and I said he's involved in tomato, that means that we don't have the machinery here, so he has got to import them. Don't forget the forward FX market that the central bank has been pumping in the largest size of FX. was to help those who are bringing in machinery that are critical to production. And the Central Bank have said this 1,000 times. Look, we're going to give money to anyone who wants to import machinery. The problem was that we always we like importing the end products. But if you're bringing machinery that will assist you to process, okay, refine, package, whatever raw materials locally, agro-based, then we have a handshake. We have an FX. You're going to have a handshake with Emefiele.
Okay, so what happens?
So instead of bringing in machines that just relabel, right? But you bring in a machine that shows how you pour in the raw tomato fruit, and we'll see how it all goes, into either a sachet or into a tin, because you got to have tomato not only in tin, but in sachet, like you have pure water, for example, in a way like a toothpaste, in which you can just spread it out and you put it and you just take the quantity you want, and you can screw it back and put it in a refrigerator. If you bring in the equipment that will help that value chain, what's called production value chain, oh fine, that's what Emefiele would want. So they got a window into this, because the industrialization, the value chain of the tomato sector is what the Central Bank and the Ministry of Industry is looking at. So we have some money, we're going to give you in industries. However, you need to bring in machinery that will add value to the entire process. But
then you're adding value to the entire process. There's no clear-cut direction as to how you intend to engage with the domestic producers already, who we already have on ground. We already have companies, and you mentioned Dangote. Dangote is on a large scale, but we had other medium to smaller, companies who actually were producing tomato concentrate, and for different reasons, infrastructure challenges, access to funds, and the rest of it, have had to close business. I remember one in Benue State that for some reason just stopped producing, and nobody knew. But of course, it was a challenge of infrastructure, and that's what most of these companies are still facing.
I think the few areas I would want to see is not mashing tomato into paste. See, we need to have the process in which those tomatoes that you see on the footage in baskets, once they are sorted, then they are washed, then they are refrigerated, and they are kept in their fruit form, okay, and they are packaged like that and refrigerated and taken to stores in which you can buy fresh tomato that is not packaged, that is not being
you don't use preservatives.
You don't use preservatives. So we need to look at that as well. Again, because that is the primary form in which many Nigerians consume tomato.
All right.
So that is one thing that we also need to look at, to help those that will do refrigeration, preservation, not in terms of putting it down a system, crush it, turn it into a paste, and things like that.
All right, Bosun, I wish I knew how passionate you were about tomato.
I'm so
okay, so we'll continue this conversation afterwards. I'll make sure there's a basket of tomatoes waiting. Well, thank you so much, Bosun. But Business Morning continues in just a moment, and we're still talking about tomatoes.